Hey, manufacturing world. Welcome to another episode of Shop Matters, sponsored by Okuma America. This podcast is created to discuss all things machining and manufacturing. I'm your host, Wade Anderson, and today in the studio we've got two gentlemen from MasterCam as well as a young man from StarHagen Aerospace. So to my left, I've got Stosh Milik. Stosh, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Wade. Thanks for the invite. My name is Stosh Milik. I work for MasterCam. Been there for about 13 years. Originally started out a head of product management, so a lot of technology that we introduced. You know, it was my guys that kind of brought that to the market. Now I've got an opportunity as a partnership program manager to actually get out in the field more, kind of evangelize what we're doing as far as technology, take a look at new stuff coming out. We're seeing a lot of advances in both the machine tool side and, of course, cutting tool side and across our entire partner channel. And, it's just, my role is pretty fun. You know, I get to see all kinds of new stuff and just, work with the partners and try to help each other bring our advantages and benefits to market.
Excellent. And across the table is my friend Chris Kozell, who's getting over some jet lag from the Philippines, right?
Oh, yeah, trying to. But thanks, Wade. So, yeah, I work for MasterCam Direct, and I actually work out of Okuma, Partners and Think. I'm there pretty much every day working with the partners down there, the machine tool distributors, and I don't go down there and support for, if they do a turnkey or if they do any kind of, time studies and post-development. So I've been there for about 5 years now, and before that I was a mold maker, and I worked actually for a MasterCam reseller. But starting off in the trade, like a lot of guys, I wouldn't call myself a honor roll student. Kind of struggled through the high school stuff, but my dad was in the trade, and all my uncles were in the trade, so I started off as a machinist and kind of worked my way up as a mold maker, and then became a MasterCam customer myself. And the reseller there saw that I was excelling at it, and I got the opportunity to start off working with the reseller, doing training and stuff, and work my way back up the ladder. And now flash forward, work for MasterCam corporate. I get to not only work at Okuma, but I get to actually travel all over the world, meeting the different Okuma distributors and working with them and seeing the technology. And it's just such a privilege to be able to do that. And I'm just grateful for the position I have and what MasterCam has offered me.
That's awesome. And across the table from me is Fred Seeley. Fred, you're with StarHagen Aerospace. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thanks. So I'm with StarHagen Aerospace. I've been there for about 2 years now as manufacturing manager. I got to do a little contract programming ahead of time for Scott, the owner, Scott Anderson, the owner of the company. And I've been in the industry now for about 10 years. And I've kind of got to touch on a lot of really neat, industries. I got to do aftermarket automotive and went from that to a NASCAR team, and left NASCAR team and went to a die mold shop for a short stint, and then left that and went to the Haas F1 team. And, that was like something really cool to be on. They were the first team in the States in like 20 years that actually made it to the track, and to be on the front end of that and like putting the rush, so we were working like 14, 16-hour days, and it was just like, it was a crazy time in my life.
Intense.
But I was once told that you know how to get twice the experience in half the time. And I was like, I don't know, work twice as much, and like that's what we did, and it was insane. Like, we got really, really good really quickly at what we did.
All right.
And then I was able to leave that and start my career at StarHagen. So
excellent.
So when you were at F1, did you have to like really thin pancakes?
Yeah. It sounded like a dog with peanut butter in my mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Chris, you talked a little bit about your background. Coming into manufacturing, your father was in manufacturing. You got into mold making, things of that nature. Fred, what got you in? You're a young guy. It's good to see young talent in the industry. What got you into the manufacturing side?
Yeah, so I think it's really cool. I've worked with a lot of older guys, that are in their 40s or 50s, and even guys that have retired and moved
that-
on.
that
called me
I know.
old.
I'm sorry, but you're old guys. So
Seasoned.
seasoned people. So you talk to these guys and they're like, I'm third generation machinist, or my grandfather did this, my dad did this, my uncles did this, kind of like Chris, and like I'm a first generation programmer. So like I'm no longer like a third generation machinist. Like we're moving past like the machinist title, like we need programmers, we need people, we need young guys that are going to come up into this industry. And it's cool. It's not like you're not going out there and hand programming these machines anymore in a dirty environment. Like it's really clean. You're on fast, like awesome computers.
So talk about the environment at StarHagen. What's the shop look like?
Yeah, so the shop, like if I drop my food on the ground, I'm gonna pick it up and eat it.
So it's a 10-second roll now, not a 5.
I'd give it a minute. Yeah, I think like our coolant's so clean. So we use a Blaser Synergy 735. Like it's a full synthetic, and it doesn't, like, the shop doesn't smell. Like it's just nice. Like it's different from when I started. So like I think it's great to get this exposure out there to young people that. Manufacturing's not the pictures that you see, of people standing on an assembly line putting together Model A's or whatever, back in the 30s and 40s. And
The sweatshop days.
yeah,
right?
like it's a cool, clean environment. It's like, so I've always been really big into video games. Like I grew up around computers, and I had the first Nintendo that came out, and kind of got to like go up through it. And I'm probably still play video games more than I should with 3 kids, but it's that's kind of like what the industry's going towards, is like a video game, the CAM software, and it's like work's fun. Like you're not out there sweating, you're not cutting your hand open because you had to get in the machine and shovel chips out. It's just a lot of fun, like the simulation and going from point A to, or I guess cradle to grave now, with you can do it as one person and you really don't have to get your hands dirty. So
Yeah, that's excellent. So people listening to this, we know that finding good talent, especially young people coming into the industry, from Maine to California, everybody says that you can't find good people to hire, and you're a shining example that there is good talent out there. So
well, thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about StarHagen. What do you do that differentiates StarHagen from the rest of the aerospace competition?
Right. So I guess the big thing with aerospace in the United States right now is like we're competing with the rest of the world. We're competing with cheap labor, people that run 3 shifts a day, I guess around the clock work. So here we have to figure out how do we make our don't work harder, work smarter. So let the technology do the work. Let the machine do the work. I guess like 0-point work holding, just making sure that when the program comes out, you go through your simulation softwares. You're not sitting there at the machine with the rapids and the feeds turned down with your head stuck right up next to the window watching, like, what is this thing going to do? You want to, I guess, build the confidence in your shop and build the confidence in your guys on the floor, because I do all the programming at the shop.
Okay.
So
So you're really using technology then to create a differentiation between you and your closest competitors.
Yeah,
So
100%. So
when you look at machine shops, as you talk about, especially aerospace, but manufacturing in general is a global competitive field now. The days where machine shops knew the people they were competing against and would drink coffee with a lot of them in the morning is over, right? Because you're competing with people across the seas. But everybody has certain aspects that are common, right? So everybody has a machine tool. Everybody has to have material. Everybody has to have cutting tools. But then it's the technology behind it that can really advance you from that aspect.
yeah, right. So like your pallet systems,
Driving the efficiency.
driving
on
the
process.
efficiencies, lean manufacturing, making sure that you're going to be able to run for 24 hours unattended. And when you come in like the next day, you don't have a tool stuck in your part and the machine's alarmed out because the spindle drove into the table and you're sitting there with, what are we going to do now? We're going to be down for 2 weeks because the machine's crashed. And
Yep. Downtime is a killer.
Yes.
Right. Chris, you're grinning ear to ear like a Cheshire cat over there. Tell us what's going through your brain right now.
Well, just him bringing up about, the technology out there and, really kind of letting that leverage what we can do today. And one of the things I was kind of laughing about was one of the old things we were working on late at night, we left the machine unattended. And, I was laughing because a comment that Stash and I were talking about earlier, it's 11 p.m. at night. Do you know where your tool is? So, the technology today, you can actually walk away and be unattended.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's great to see companies like StarHagen and other companies out there that are really kind of leveraging the technology. And I think in today's environment, that's the only way you're going to stay competitive. Because, if you're not looking at things as, I go back to, people ask me what I used to be. What'd you do for a living, Chris? And I always used to tell them, hey, you know what? I'm a mold maker. I'm a machinist. Well, once I started working with MasterCam Corporate, it kind of changed my philosophy when I started looking at the technology. I don't view myself as a machinist anymore. You know what I do? I'm a chip maker. I make chips. And if you don't have that mentality where it's all about material removal rate, you're getting left behind. And you're getting left behind by maybe the guy sitting next to you. Maybe it's the shop across the street. Or like Fred mentioned, it's worldwide. You have to start leveraging this technology in order to stay competitive and to keep yourself up that upper echelon.
Right.
Yeah. And I think Chris brings up a good point. The technology has advanced in so many areas. It's not just the cam system, it's the machine tool, but even on the cutting tool side. Some of the, we'll go out, we'll start working with some of our other partners, and what I keep reminding people is even the cutting tools side, those cutting tools even 2 years ago, they're not your dad's tools. There's been advances to the point where now you're taking some very contemporary tool paths, you're able to guarantee a certain chip load, and now you're putting yourself in a position where you have much more in the terms of predictability, that you build up that confidence, and now somebody like Fred can, he can be dialed into that program. He can run the machine, and yes, you do have that comfort level. You can walk away, and that's talking at automation.
Yeah, because I think it was like it was what, X4, X5 when the dynamic toolpath started coming out for MasterCam.
Exactly.
So I think it was like X6 when I first got into it, and I was working at Michael Waltrip's at the time, and it was like, here it is. I think Helical had just came out with their first 5-flute end mill, and we got one dropped off to us, and it was like, here, try this out, and like, look at this toolpath. And at the time, we were doing like core roughing. It was like you step down like 100 thou and step over, quarter inch, and your half-inch end mill was like, wah, wah, just running through the part.
You could hear it in the corner too, right? You'd be listening all to your and you're going, oh man. And that was one of the things on how I got to learn about speeds and feeds. It wasn't necessarily, the online catalogs give you a good starting point,
right?
But it's really what it sounds like. And that's the one thing that I've learned over the years, that anybody that cuts parts, they don't have to look and see what the machine's doing. It's all by sound. And you hear that nice harmonic as it's going through, as it's making that cut. That's how you know the machine is actually running really well. And a good machinist will call that from across the room. Oh, you got to get that speed up a little bit higher. You're going too slow. So,
yeah, interesting. You mentioned automation earlier. How big of a shop is StarHagen? How many employees do you have?
So I think right now we're about 16 employees.
Okay.
We have 5 machines. We have 2 M560 3-axis machines, 2 5-axis and MU4000 and MU6300, and then we have an MB5000 that's on a 10 pallet Fastum system. So
okay,
we have a lot to keep busy. So I do all the programming.
Okay,
and then I have 2 guys on the floor that keep the machines going. So anymore, it's not one guy per machine. It's how can we how can we make this happen with as few people as possible.
So you're saying you as a programmer, 2 guys run a machine, so 3 people basically actually in the chip making process.
Yep,
that's interesting.
And this is where the simulation and the verification, I think, comes in so importantly, because you mentioned it earlier, Fred, about it's how important just having that verification and the simulation before it hits the machine to know that you've got a good part.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we use Complete Toolpath to do all of our verification and simulation, and like CamPleat's like it's really cool. It's kind of like a post processor on steroids. So like in the past, as like the end user of the software, it's like, you know, if you get something and you want to make a change, or, you know, at the end of your program you want, you know, this to do this, or you want the coolant to turn on at this point, like you had to be a rocket scientist to, you know, go in and change the post or do what you needed to do. And like this software is really cool. You know, with any verification software, you can watch what's going to happen, like down to like the sheet metal hitting the table. Like it is, it's really, really neat, and it gives you the confidence as a programmer that I'm gonna program this one-off part right here, and we're not gonna go out and we're not gonna sit there for 20 hours looking through the machine, you know, making sure that every last thing's good.
Right.
It has full kinematic awareness. It knows the solution that the spindles, or, you know, the table's gonna go to, or the head's gonna go to, and you can watch it all right there. You know, something that's going to run for 20 hours, you can get it through simulation in an hour. You can go out and you can hit the green button and you can go home, you know.
Right.
So,
Yep.
So simulation and verification is the Call of Duty for machinists.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, guys, we're starting to run down to our time limit here, so I want to thank you guys for joining me in the studio here today. And as always, all of our listeners, if you guys have thoughts, questions, technologies that you want to talk about, shoot us a line, let us know. We'll be glad to look into it.